Welcome to Feral Healing, two best friends, one soul bond, a podcast dedicated to eccentric healing, the kind of conversations that crack you up and your heart open. Now, here are your hosts, Camille and Caitlin. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feral Healing. I'm your host, Caitlin, and as you may notice, my beautiful, lovely soul sister is off in the realm of the Day of the Dead, and she's unable to join us this week. It's really not that dramatic. She was just unavailable this week. But Halloween is literally my favorite holiday. And so I could not pass this episode up. So happy Halloween, everyone, and get ready for Creepin' It Real. This episode, I really wanted to touch base on celebrating yourself, celebrating your wins, celebrating the things that you have done. There are many of us that walk in this life, and we just cannot seem to celebrate ourselves. I woke up one day and I realized I hype everyone up. But it's very rare that I hype myself up. And you have to be your number one fan in this life. We are living in a life where people love to break others down, in which case we have to be our biggest hype person. Because when someone isn't there, or we have conflicts of schedules and we have to do an episode alone, you have to be able to be your biggest hype person. And so I wanted to touch base on that, because in these last few months to a year, honestly, this past year has been a huge awakening for me and a huge opening of how much I do for others that I was not doing for myself. And at that, I was extremely uncomfortable for many years with people celebrating me or people hyping me up. I remember we touched base in a few episodes ago about how the news came out, and you could visibly see how uncomfortable I was when Cammie brought up how the news came out to cover some scenic artistry I had done. And it's just something that I'm still working through, about celebrating myself and celebrating me as a person and all of my accomplishments that I've done and all the things that I should be proud about. But for some reason, this world's beat me into thinking that I shouldn't be proud of them, or I shouldn't be, a little egotistical. Not really. I killed my ego, but a little, self-love to be like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I accomplished that. And so I just wanted to touch base on that today and dive into it a bit. I know that many of us struggle with when it comes to celebrating our wins. It's really hard. We're really good at planning those events for others and those celebrations and celebrating how much we are so proud of those in our life and what they have done. And then when it comes to us, we kind of fall short. And there's been a few years where I was in places where my closest circle wasn't around, or there was stuff going on for all of us and we couldn't get together. And I had to, look around and be like, oh, well, I just won't celebrate this year. And now, in the era that I am in, we don't do that. We do not do that. I am celebrating myself and my wins and all of the things that I'm doing in this life, because I've worked really hard and I've been through a lot of trauma in this life. And so we all deserve to feel good about ourselves and to celebrate the things we've accomplished in this life. And there's nothing I can't stand more than someone celebrating something they're proud of and everyone else putting them down. That is a number one sign that you will not end up in my circle. If I see somebody is out there really proud of something they accomplished, and then somebody else is like, it's not that great, or, they're just being petty, and that's no longer allowed in my circle. For years I would be like, oh, they're just struggling with insecurities, they'll get through it, and I let stuff slide for a long time. And now I no longer will let stuff slide. I will not cause conflict with you, but I will walk away and you will not hear from me anymore if that is the only energy you are bringing to the table. I just don't have room for it in my circle anymore. I need a circle that's going to hype each other up. And, I am very verbal about how I feel about things. There's a difference. I will tell you, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with what's going on. If it's something that is crossing my boundary, I'll be like, I'm not okay with what's going on. And if you continue to cross it, then I'll just fall off. I will ghost you. I say I will ghost you. I do not mean I will just disappear out of your life and you won't know why. I will explain to you multiple times that something is bothering me, and then I will move on from it. And that's it. In which case, going through this process of learning my boundaries and understanding that I was not properly expressing to people that things bothered me because of childhood trauma, of trauma in my 20s, and all the things that I was going through, I was not setting those boundaries, in which case I was not sticking up for myself, celebrating myself, and allowing myself to be who I truly am. So I'm not going to just disappear out of nowhere and you're not going to know why. You're going to know why. And what I've realized is since I've started doing that is those people will not reach back out. When I stop reaching out after I've expressed how I felt and I'm like, this is not okay. This needs to be worked on. And then we can move forward. In the last episode, I touched about how I've had to learn a lot of grace because I would let people barrel over my boundaries and then I would just destroy them psychologically in the sense of breaking them down and who they are as a person. And now I'm learning that grace of being like, I don't like that you're like this. I understand it. I don't like it. I don't want it in my life. I'm going to move on. And so I've learned that grace about myself this past year, and diving in a little bit of the hard truth about celebrating yourself is most of us are more uncomfortable celebrating the things we have done than we are celebrating others. And for me, it's a very hard, always feeling like I'm never good enough. And so when somebody celebrates it, I'm like, oh, it's not quite that great. Don't look at it. I don't need you to watch this because I don't think it's up to par, because we are perfectionists and we are really hard on ourselves about how we want things to look or want things to come out. You know, when the news came out, we weren't even halfway through our set build and I was just like, this isn't ready to be viewed. I don't want people to see this, and the news is here doing an interview. And what I learned was, through that process, they're like, this looks so amazing. And I'm like, it's not even done, and so it was a very eye-opening experience for me a few years ago when I got praised for the work that I did. And it's something to be said to celebrate yourself, because I am the queen, the absolute queen of being like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. And I do the same thing with my trauma, which in reality, it is a big deal because that's the reason that I turned into the person I am today. And why I have such an issue with celebrating my wins and celebrating the things that I have accomplished in this life and doing all the things that I never thought I would be able to do, because I never thought I would make it that far, whether it be in the realm of the living or just in general of being able to bring myself to do it without stopping myself and being like, this isn't good enough to put out there. I'm not going to do it. And celebrating those accomplishments it'll change who you are as a person. And I don't care if it's as simple as, I got up and took a shower today and I took my dogs out and I read a book and I did a few chores. Guess what? Celebrate that win. Celebrate that win, because there are some days in the past when I couldn't even get out of bed. I could not even bring myself to get out of bed. And nobody's judging you for that. You woke up. We're proud of you. We're proud of you for waking up. But at the same time, if you don't celebrate that, nobody else is going to. And you have to realize that life is so full of negativity and so full of all of these negative beings that you have to be that positivity for yourself. You have to remind yourself every day, I'm a badass. Because I would say bad bitch, but we have a male audience too, I'm a badass, and I have been through so much and I've done so much, and I am still here standing. I am still here accomplishing things I never thought I would, things I never thought I'd live to see, things I never thought I would have the energy to do. I'm in my late 30s, and working in the hot industry and still bartending and working on tours and doing all the things I do, physically it can really take it out of me sometimes. I realize my age at the end of a 12-hour bar shift. I start feeling it in my knees and my back, and I'm like, oof, mama ain't young no more. She can't do this like she used to. But the reality of it is I did it. Yes, physically afterwards I'm feeling the effects, but it is not near as bad as sitting there being like, I can't do this anymore because I'm physically in this place and it's tearing me down and my body can't take it. And, just tearing ourselves up mentally. Once we get there mentally, you'll be surprised how far you can push yourself physically. A prime example is currently, um, as we've touched based on a little bit, I care for my grandparents who are 90 and 92. My grandfather is 90, and he has had a lot of struggle since he had his surgery a few years back. He has had a lot of struggle with being able to walk a lot and get around on his own. And I came out today and full makeup to go happy Halloween them, and check on them. And he was on his bicycle, and if we would flash back, sorry, not forward, flash back to a month ago when I started this journey, a little over a month ago when I started this journey with them and helping care for them. It was a struggle to get him up and get him to a restroom. He was struggling really hard getting around. And not only did he get up out of his chair, but I came out and he was on his stationary bicycle, just strolling away, just doing his workouts. And I am so proud of him. It was like I'm not going to put that on me, but having someone around who's like, you can do it, get up, because anybody who knows me, I am that hype person for other people. I'm like, you can do it. Why are you complaining? I know you can do it. And then they're just like, okay. I guess I can do it, and I'll always be that person for people because I want to see everyone happy and living to the fullest and doing everything they can possibly in this life to find their happiness and find their way in this crazy life we're living and find their passion. If you are not focusing on your passion while working your day to day, you're gonna lose life. Babes, you're gonna lose life. You cannot sit there and only focus on the 9 to 5. Yes, if that is how your flow and a 9 to 5 works, great. But you have a passion of some sort, and you really have to tap into that. And once you start tapping into that, is when you start really noticing your own personal wins, and you start really wanting to celebrate yourself and you start really wanting to do things. When I took a few years off from doing FX makeup and was only acting when it came around to the hot season. I've been in the hot industry for 17 years and I've acted, I've done makeup, I've done seamstress work, I've done a lot of different things. And I took quite a few years off, and then I jumped back in with a company and they were like, can you do the makeup? We need somebody to do the makeup. And I was like, sure. And they're like, airbrush machine. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't airbrushed in like 5 years because I was acting and I was doing other things and I wasn't focusing on FX. And so I was really hard on myself when I first started back. And I am not the most amazing FX artist out there. A lot of it was self-taught or taught from friends of mine who taught in schools, FX schools, but they weren't my teacher. I just learned trick of the trades by being in the industry. And so I do not praise myself in any way in that form, but it is a passion of mine and I love doing it, in which case I love to dive into it every now and then. And even if, with the economy we're living in, we cannot always do what we want to do. We cannot always work in our passion because the money's not there. We can't always, with me doing FX, yes, I could do it year round if I went into certain industries and certain things, but I love Halloween and that is my passion. And I only want to do certain things in it because I've realized when I've done bigger scale stuff, it is just not, I lose the passion. I lose the passion of it. And so if you get stuck in that, okay, I have to work this job because this is where the money is, you still have to find that time for your passion. I don't care if it's a hobby. I don't care if it's taking 5 minutes to sit down and doodle, or taking 5 minutes to sit down and write or read or work on paint, or work on some digital art or whatever it is. Or if your thing is not art and it's, engineering, numbering, like whatever that passion is for you, please find it. Please, please, please find it in this life and focus on it. It is one of those things that I have strayed away from before and just focused on the 9 to 5. And I can tell you, I will burn myself out and go insane. I have learned that. I have also learned over the years that I'm definitely ADHD. And so I like to work a couple different jobs and I like to work a couple different gigs and, and do a couple different things. I've also been a hairstylist for many years. Do I like working in a salon full time? No, I can't do it. It burns me out. It feels too much like a job that cannot sustain me and my mental space and my creativity and what I want to do, in which case I absolutely love doing hair for my family and friends and still keeping, my cosmetology alive in that form, and or in hair designing, for characters or this or that. But I cannot do it full time because it burns me out, because it feels too much like something that I'm going to lose my passion in. And so, I understand working that regular job and feeling like you're just working your life away and you're not really getting anywhere with anything. You're not really doing anything. But there are ways to incorporate it, taking 5 minutes. And, I know normally this is a time that would be great for Camille to pipe in with her being a mom. I'm not a mom, so I understand that's a whole other avenue to take into account when we're talking about bringing your passions in and your hobbies and your true jobs that you want to do and the things that you really love doing. I cannot understand having a child full time, what that is like, but Camille still finds time for her passion while working full time, being a single mom, being a widow, all the things she's been through. She will always still find time to incorporate some of her passion into her schedule because she knows exactly what it feels like to give up on that and then come back later and be like, oh my goodness, I've lost myself. You're in the void. You're in the void of not knowing what you want to do or what life really is. And so just take that moment, even if it's a couple months from now and you're just sitting there and you're like, I remember when Callie, however you know me, was sitting there and she was talking about this passion. And this is something that I really like woodworking, or I really like designing, engineering, designing stuff, the mathematical parts of it or this or that. And just spend 5 minutes a day on your passion and watch how much you will start shifting and changing and feeling this energy shift within yourself to where you start getting up in the morning and you're excited for your day. It's not, I've got to get up and go to this job I hate and do these things that I just don't have fun doing and deal with these people that are just miserable. And, and I worked retail for many years. Many years while trying to break into certain industries. I worked retail, and talk about a job that will suck the life right out of you. And I know many friends who are still in retail and they're just like, oh, they get up every day. And I'm like, work on your side projects. Or even if you're not trying to do that for a living, still incorporate it in your life. Have fun. Just do it for fun. Get your kids involved in these passions of yours that you want to incorporate into your life. Make it a part of their life, you know. I am a huge Halloween person, and guess what? I don't have kids, but I have a nephew. And guess what? He always has costumes. He will always have them. Yesterday, I took him to the Halloween parade and I was doing my makeup as a pirate, and he saw me doing it, and so he grabbed my makeup brush and he was interested. I could tell he was like trying to figure out what it was about, you know, like what is this and what is it about? And so he accidentally got some on his face, and so I just painted some dirt marks on his face as a little, because he was a little pirate. And being able to see how much you influence your little ones, it just having them see you do something that makes you happy, having them be a part of it, even as an aunt, that is huge for me to sit there and watch him. And I was just like, you know, of course my sister-in-law is like, great, she doesn't do the spooky as much as I do, and neither does my brother. And so they're like, oh, here we go, because he's already an adrenaline baby who loves being scared. My mom will run around the house and scare him all the time, and he just loves it. So he's going to be my little protege one day. Something else that's been a huge thing for me that we've touched base on a lot in our episodes is my pride. I'm extremely prideful of helping myself and extremely prideful of doing things. So that's been a huge struggle with me this past year of like, oh, my pride of like, allowing that grace for myself, and you know, and celebrating myself. And I didn't want to be egotistical or prideful, and so like navigating this weird, you know, world. And I realized, you know, I really needed to turn my pride into power. And what I mean by that is, instead of viewing it as, oh, you're prideful or this or that, be proud of who you are and what you've accomplished without it turning into an ego. I'm not one to sit here and be like, your ego needs to completely die, you know, and this and that, because that's an ego within itself. You know, obviously we carry a little bit of an ego, but if you let your ego run you, you're going to run yourself into the ground, and you're never going to be truly happy, and you're going to live in an insecure world. And so I had to go through that struggle of like, what am I need to be proud of myself, but I don't want to be prideful. And so finding this happy medium world where I'm just like, I am proud of myself without being prideful of, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say this, my way is the only way. No, I am always open to learning, and I will now accept help, and I will now allow others to come in and be there for me and do things for me that I would not do before. But I'm also extremely proud of how much I've done on my own and how much I've accomplished by myself and with others. You know, Camille and I, this was, it seemed like a pipe dream for a long time, us starting the podcast, and never in my wildest dreams did I think, oh, I'm going to put out a solo episode. And of course, this episode will be short and sweet because I don't have my amazing sister to sit here and banter with, and her input on this celebrating us. And hopefully with the next episode, she can touch base on it a little bit with whatever subject we touch on. But I just really wanted to do this episode because I want you to celebrate yourself and your wins, and really get in touch with what makes you happy. Because if you don't celebrate yourself, babe, nobody else is going to. And you really need to do it for yourself, for this life. You know, we've all been through a lot of different things, and so we can do it for the versions of us now, but do it for the version of you that has been through the hardships, that have been through the hard times and the things that we don't always talk about. Just really take some time today and celebrate yourself for all the things you survived, all the things you've accomplished, and all the things you truly love in this life. So this week, in the middle of your I'm not doing enough, I hope you stop and reword it to, I've done a lot. I've done enough. I'm going to take a break. I hope that this project isn't good enough. You stop and you replace it with, oh man, I worked really hard on this project. And for the next one, I might alter this, but I'm really proud of this. Be really proud of the things you guys have accomplished. And I'm already proud of you guys. You guys know you're a part of our tribe and a part of our family. And I'm already really proud of a lot of things you guys have accomplished. This past week, I got to see some of my lovely friends accomplish things that they never thought they would. And so it's one of those things that was really heavy on my heart, and I really felt we needed to talk to you about. And even though I had to do it alone, I'm so happy that I did pull through and do it. And I just wanted to keep it short and sweet. We've all got Halloween events to get to and all the Halloween things to do, but I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween and celebrate yourselves this weekend. So as always, my darlings, we'll see you in the shadows.